Let's speak now to someone who has more than 20 years of experience in global negotiations, to put it lightly. Maria Espinosa is the former chair of the United Nations General Assembly and former Foreign Affairs Minister of Ecuador. And it's very good to see you. Thank you for making time.
I'm very happy to be here.
So we're sort of officially at the end of this COP, but really not, because, of course, discussions will probably continue on over the coming hours and days. And things do often get a bit like that. How would you summarise where we're at right now in terms of negotiations?
We are in the final stretch of the negotiations, and in the multilateral space, we often say that things get worse before they get better. And so basically, we are looking for a new number on climate finance. We had agreed on the 100 billion during the Mexican COP in Cancun, and now we are basically recommitting to a bigger number because the losses have been bigger, because the ambition for reducing emissions is higher, and because emissions continue to grow and climate impacts and shocks continue to happen everywhere in the world. And of course, they are the most vulnerable countries, mostly countries of the so-called global south, that are suffering the most, small island developing states, coastal communities that are going to pay a high price, massive displacements, food insecurity. We know what has happened, what is happening now, because the climate crisis is here, and what will happen if we do not act. But there are good news. There are many issues that have been decided. For example, the text on technology, which is extremely important. You know, the transfer of low carbon technologies, especially to the countries of the global south. There is, I would say, I don't know what happened in the last half hour, but we have agreed or pre-agreed on the carbon markets text as well. So there are developments that are important.
And there are calls as well for certain developing countries that are also emitters themselves to have a role in the funding, although they may also receive some funding. And I know you've worked across many multilateral organisations in your experience, some of which have included China. Do you think China should be called upon more to act on a funding front?
Well, the truth is China, and they have said it publicly, China is the country that invests the most in renewable energies around the world already. So I think that they are, taking the responsibility to do that. And I think this is being part of the conversations, part of the equation, and also part of the shared responsibility. But of course, some countries have more responsibilities than others in the mitigation equation, in the reducing emissions for good, because unfortunately what we have seen, after 29 times that the Conference of the Parties has met, emissions just increase, impacts of climate shocks increase.
There have been some statements throughout the afternoon, especially when we were waiting for this second draft to be published, and some people saying that no deal on finance might be better than an agreement on finance that would be hard to pin down, to get countries to actually commit to beyond just discussion. Do you buy that argument?
I think that there are many expert analyses out there. I mentioned the Standing Committee on Finance of the Convention, but there is the Stern report that came up a few days ago. They are speaking about trillions. It's a serious assessment on how much money is needed, mostly in the case of developing countries that are low emitters, for adaptation and resilience building. So this is real money that is needed. And what are the sources of funding? Who has the responsibility to provide the resources? The devil is on the details, and I think that's what is keeping, the negotiations. They're really, being, in my opinion, serious and responsible to make sure that whatever agreement they reach, there is going to be, of course, accountability and transparency.
Maria Espinosa, thank you very much for making time to speak to us. I know you're going to be very busy this evening as well.
Thank you. Thank you.